Good morning, boys and girls. How are you all doing? I hope you're hanging in there like all of us are and doing the right thing. I have a question for you today before I start to read. So the two chapters today are swimming with dolphins and running with rhinos. My question is, which would you rather do, swim with dolphins or run with rhinos? Now for me, I don't want to run with rhinos because they're usually found in hot and dusty places. And they're really big, and that horn is pretty intimidating. Swimming with dolphins, I would love to do. Do you know that dolphins are, I think scientists say they are the smartest creature on earth next to us. And swimming them would be fun. They look like they're smiling all the time. It's like the ocean's dog, because they have to wag their tails to swim, don't they? And wouldn't jumping as high as a dolphin put a smile on your face too? So, let's find out what happens with Peter and Mary. Previously, on The Secret of the Hidden Scrolls, they sat quietly on the beach and watched the sky turn pink as the sun slowly disappeared. "Keep looking," said Mary. What did Michael say? Remember, he's the angel. He said the first word of the scroll would be declared. Peter thought for a second. It seemed strange that he said the word declared so loudly, like he was emphasizing it. "It reminds me of a Bible verse we learned," said Mary. "The heavens declare the glory of the Lord, and the sky shows the work of his hand." Peter shook his head. Mary even had the Bible memorized. "So, are you saying that the stars and the moon are showing us how amazing God is?" "Well, yeah, maybe that's the clue," said Mary. "Is the first word God?" The scroll shook in Peter's hand, and he unrolled it. And the first word on the scroll started glowing, and the letters twisted and turned and changed into the word God. "We solved the first word," and Mary did a happy dance. Swimming with dolphins. "It sure is quiet." Peter took a big bite of banana for breakfast. "That's true," said Mary. "I haven't heard any crickets chirping at night or any birds singing in the morning." Peter looked around at the ground and the sky. "Well, now that you mention it, I haven't seen any birds or bugs or animals at all." Mary looked around too. "Oh, I'm glad there are no bugs, but I do miss the birds." "Let the waters be filled with fish and great creatures of the sea, and let the sky be filled with birds," said the big voice across the ocean and through the trees. The waters filled with swimming and jumping and diving creatures from shoreline to deep, dark ocean. The skies filled with colorful flapping wings, and soaring songs echoed through the trees, and the land and the sea became alive. "Be fruitful and multiply to fill the water and the sky," said the big voice to this new world of life. "I didn't know that birds and fish could do math." Peter grinned at his sister. "Get it? Fill and multiply?" "I think multiply means to have babies," said Mary seriously. "I know." Peter rolled his eyes. "I was joking. Besides, they might be able to add and subtract, but there's no way they can multiply." Mary paid no attention to him. Her face was turned toward the sky. "Look at all the amazing birds. I have never seen so many colors and sizes." Peter pointed high into the sky. "Look at that huge bird way up there." Hank looked up and barked and turned in circles. "That's not a bird," said Mary. "It's Michael." "Hey, it sure is getting lively down here." Michael landed on the ground beside them. "Congratulations on translating the first word on the scroll." "Where have you been since yesterday?" asked Peter. I've been trying to find Satan, the great enemy, said Michael. I know he's up to something, but I'm not sure where he is. Some people say he has horns and a forked tail, but I read that isn't true. Mary put her hands on her hips like she always did when she was about to ask a serious question. So, what does he look like? Well, he could look like many different things, said Michael. He could look like anybody or anything. Well, so how will we know him? Asked Peter. You will know him by his lies. He will try to trick you with lies and turn you against God. And it's best if you all stay together. It can be dangerous if you are alone. Well, don't worry, we will, said Mary. Remember, you will know Satan by his lies. Michael spread his wings and flew away. I am a little worried, said Mary. What if we get tricked and don't solve the scroll in time? Don't worry, said Peter. You heard Michael. If we stay together, everything will be okay. Mary still looked worried. I sure hope you're right. Let's go down to the beach and see all the new sea creatures, said Peter. Okay, and maybe we'll find a clue, said Mary. Peter ran down to the beach. He couldn't believe his eyes. He saw colorful fish, seahorses, starfish, turtles, and even whales. Then he saw something that took his breath away. Look at those dolphins jumping in the air, he shouted. I read that a fully grown dolphin can jump 25.5 feet out of the water, said Mary. Well, let's get in the water and swim with them. That would be so much fun. I know at SeaWorld, you can pay a lot of money and swim with the dolphins in one of their pools, or you used to be able to. But I don't think the dolphins are socially distancing, so probably not. I don't think we can swim with the dolphins, said Mary. Why not, said Peter. They do at the water park. But we aren't trained, said Mary. Peter ignored her. He jumped into the water and swam to the dolphins. When he looked back, Mary was still standing on the shore looking nervous. He grinned. She might be smarter than him, but she wasn't as brave. Finally, she jumped in. But not Hank. He was too busy chasing birds on the beach. The dolphins were very friendly. Peter swam and laughed and played tag with them. Mary petted one of the dolphins on the head and made squeaking sounds to communicate with them. Peter heard Hank bark. He looked up and saw how far out he was in the deep water. And then he saw something else. Shark fins circling around them and the dolphins. Suddenly Peter didn't feel so brave. Maybe they just want to play, said Mary. I don't want to wait to find out, said Peter. Quick, grab the fin of one of the dolphins and let's get out of here. Peter grabbed the fin of the biggest dolphin. Mary grabbed the fin of the fastest dolphin. Peter shouted for them to swim and the dolphins took off, and they were fast. The only problem was that the dolphins were swimming in different directions. Peter's dolphin swam straight for the shore, but Mary's dolphin swam out to sea. Peter stood on the beach and shouted, but it didn't help. Mary's dolphin kept swimming, and the sharks kept following. And then they were gone. Peter looked around and spotted the boat that Michael had used to rescue them, so he pulled it into the water. Hank and Peter jumped into the boat and off they went. He had to rescue Mary, and they had to stay together. The waves were rough, but Peter kept rowing, and they made it past the waves and shouted and barked for Mary, but there was no answer. Peter kept rowing. His arms were getting tired and his hands were hurting. It was hopeless. Peter worried that he would never find Mary. He was afraid he couldn't solve the secret of the scroll by himself. And even if he could, what would happen to Mary? It is good, said the big voice, as the day ended and darkness covered the water. You know that big voice is really God? Yeah. "How can it be good when Mary is missing?" said Peter. When he was too tired to row any longer, he drifted off to sleep in the boat. Running with rhinos. Peter woke to Hank's slobbery tongue licking his face. It was morning, and he needed to find Mary. Peter rowed and called Mary's name. He rowed and rowed, but couldn't find her. In fact, when he looked around, he couldn't see land either. All he saw was water. Peter was losing hope of ever finding Mary or getting back home. Hank ran to the back of the boat and barked. Then Peter saw a dolphin swimming toward him. It swam in circles around the boat, and Peter recognized it as the dolphin that had carried Mary away. Maybe the dolphin could help. Peter started to feel a little hope. "Do you know where Mary is?" Peter asked the dolphin. The dolphin jumped into the air and swam away. Wait, said Peter. "Don't leave us out here." Peter rowed fast to catch up with the dolphin. It kept swimming and Peter kept rowing. Finally, Peter looked ahead and saw the shore. But this was not the beach they were on before. The dolphin had led them to a different beach. There were big rocks along the shore, and Peter could see tall trees in the distance through a light fog. "Maybe the dolphin brought us to where he took Mary," Peter said to Hank. Peter jumped from the boat onto the beach. He was so happy to be on land again, but he was tired and hungry, and he missed Mary. He couldn't believe he actually missed Mary. Hank ran down the beach and barked at something in the sand. Peter ran to see. "What is it, Hank?" Peter stopped dead in his tracks. A set of footprints in the sand. Peter put his foot beside a footprint. It was the same size as his. "These must be Mary's footprints," said Mary. "Not Mary," said Peter. "Let's follow them. Maybe we will find Mary." They followed the footprints down the beach, and after about 100 yards, the footprints changed direction and turned away from the water. They disappeared into a garden that was as big as a jungle. The garden was green and full of fruit-filled trees. 2 trees in the middle of the garden stood taller than the other trees. "Let the earth be filled with living creatures. Let big beasts and creeping creatures cover the earth," said the big voice. A mighty wind blew, and sounds filled the air. The land echoed with roars and growls and howls and squeaks. Hank barked and joined the chorus of creatures. Peter was amazed, but also a little scared. It sounded like there were some big animals in the garden, and Mary was stuck in there with them, alone. He had to go in to find her. Time was running out. It was day 6, and they only had 1 day left to solve the scroll. Peter's palms started to sweat, but he had to keep going. Peter and Hank entered the great garden and searched for Mary. They found a river running through the middle. Peter and Hank both leaned down and drank the clear water from the river. Peter drank just like a dog. "Let's walk along the river," said Peter. "Maybe Mary is thirsty." Peter saw some banana trees and stuffed some bananas in his pockets for the journey. He heard a noise coming from behind the trees. He stood very still and quiet. Crack! A huge rhino trampled through the trees, squishing bananas and running straight at Peter. Hank stood in place and barked at the charging rhino. "Run for your life!" yelled Peter. Barked Hank. Snorted the rhino as he ran past Hank and charged at Peter. Peter scrambled up a tree and held on tightly as the rhino rammed his big horn into the tree over and over and over again. "Run, Hank!" yelled Peter. "Go find Mary!" Hank disappeared into the garden. Peter's heart pounded. He was alone and in trouble, and he couldn't figure out any way to escape. Suddenly, A monkey jumped onto the branch beside Peter. The monkey jumped up and down like he wanted to play. He grabbed a banana out of Peter's pocket and threw it at the rhino. Great idea! He threw a banana too, but the rhino stayed put. You're a funny monkey, said Peter. Thanks for trying to help. The monkey reached to grab another banana, but this time he pulled out the scroll. Give it back! Shouted Peter. The monkey laughed and jumped to another branch. I'm not joking! Peter jumped onto the branch beside the monkey and reached to grab the scroll. The monkey moved, and Peter slipped. He caught the end of the branch and dangled right above the rhino's horn. The monkey jumped to another branch. Then he jumped to another tree. He jumped from tree to tree, disappearing into the distance. It is good, said the big voice through the trees. Peter looked straight down at the rhino's big pointy horn. How can this be good? To be continued. Come back next week, guys. Have a great, great weekend. Stay safe, stay well, and be kind.